Much of America has reacted swiftly and strongly to Donald Trump's grotesque suggestion that there is a moral equivalence between the white supremacists who converged last weekend on Charlottesville, Virginia, and those who protested against them. But the delayed, qualified, and often mealy-mouthed reactions of many in America's leadership class tell a disturbing story about the country's elites and the reason we are living in an age of populist rebellion. The least respected of today's leaders are, of course, politicians. The public largely views them as craven and cowardly, pandering to polls and focus groups. And that is how too many Republican officials have behaved in the face of Trump's words and actions. Men and women who usually cannot stop pontificating on every topic on live TV, with some honorable exceptions, have suddenly gone mute on the biggest political subject of the day. I know they worry about the base, about primaries, about right-wing donors. But shouldn't they also worry about their country and their conscience? Shouldn't they ask themselves why they went into public service in the first place? And if they see someone at the highest level trampling on the values of the country, shouldn't they speak up directly, forcefully, and without qualification? Business leaders, meanwhile, are still among the most respected and envied people in America today. They run vast organizations, get paid on a scale that makes their predecessors from just 25 years ago look middle class, and live in a bubble of private planes, helicopters, and limousines. In other words, they have all the wealth, power, and security that should allow them to set standards and, well, lead. Instead, for the most part, business leaders have also been cowards. Most of them surely think Trump is a charlatan, a snake oil salesman. In the past, many chose not to do business with him because they believed he was unethical. Others were initially amused by his candidacy, but regarded his rhetoric on trade, immigration, refugees as loathsome. And yet, almost none of them spoke out against him. Few even distanced themselves from him after he blamed many sides for the violence in Charlottesville. Had Merck's CEO Kenneth Frazier not resigned from one of Trump's advisory boards, it's unclear whether others would have spoken out. And even then, some jumped ship only when it became clear there was really no alternative, after Trump doubled down on his initial comments. America once did have more public-minded elites, but they came from a small, clubby world, the Protestant establishment. Not all were born rich, but they knew they had a secure place atop the country. They populated the country's boardrooms, public offices, and its best schools. This security gave them greater comfort in exercising moral leadership. Today, we have a more merit-based elite, what is often called a meritocracy. It has allowed people from all walks of life to rise up into positions of power and influence. But these new elites are more insecure, anxious, self-centered. Politicians are likely to be solo entrepreneurs, worried about the next primary or the fundraiser. CEOs live with the constant fear that they might lose their jobs or their company might lose its customers in an instant. They may not think they have the luxury to be high-minded, but they do. They are all vastly more secure than most people in America or in human history. If they cannot act out of broader interest, who can? The group of leaders who deserve the most praise this week are the military brass. In a remarkable act of leadership for people who work under the president, all 5 of the heads of the armed forces independently issued statements unequivocally denouncing racism and bigotry. Perhaps this is because the military has been the institution that has most successfully integrated America's diverse population. Perhaps it is because the military remains an old-fashioned place where a sense of honor, standards, and values still holds. The military chiefs have shown why they still command so much respect in the country. America's other elites should perhaps take note.